Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are conquering the monster of a video. Today I'm going to be doing an updated bookshelf tour, which I'm actually really excited about. It's a little bit of a daunting task, but I think it's still going to be really fun. I'm someone who constantly reorganizes my bookshelves, and I have finally got them in a place where I really am happy with them, so I'm excited to show them to you guys. I've actually had to evolve past the single bookshelf. Actually, that happened a long time ago, so my books are now housed in 3 different places, technically 4. So I will be showing you all of the different places. I'm going to start with these bookshelves behind me, and then I will take you around to the different locations. Now, if you are new to my channel or you have never seen one of my bookshelf tours, I kind of do them in a different way than most people do, just because those bookshelf tours where they show you every single book and tell you every single title and every single author, just they're very boring, let's be real. Some people really enjoy them, I know, but personally I get bored watching them, I get bored making them, so that's just not the way I do things here. So sorry if that's what you're expecting. I'm still going to show you my bookshelves and show you how I organize them and everything that's on them. I just do them in a bit of a different way. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. I'll link down below my previous bookshelf tours if you want to go see those and the way that they used to be organized. But a lot of things have changed, not just organizationally. I've also done a lot of unhauls recently, so a lot of the books that used to be on here aren't anymore. And also I've acquired a lot of new books, as you do, so we got a lot of new stuff here. If you're wondering, these bookshelves are from IKEA. They're the Billy bookshelves, as well as you'll see at the top I have lights. Those are also from IKEA. I don't really know what they're called. They were just on display on top of these exact bookshelves in IKEA. And I would definitely recommend these shelves. A lot of people ask me if I like them or not. I used to have a big shelf from Walmart and that one just totally fell apart. And these have held up really well for me, especially for the weight that I put on these poor shelves and how much I move stuff around on them. They've held up pretty well. So yeah, let's just get straight into the video. I will give you an overview of how I organize everything before I get into it, but yeah. Okay, so here is a quick overview of the shelves as a whole. The organization system is a lot looser than it used to be. I used to have a very distinct way of organizing my books and I don't really anymore, so I'll get more into that as I go through it. I'm trying to remember how I shot the top shelf the last time I did these bookshelf tours because my tripod just doesn't go that high. So we're just gonna chill with this really awkward angle for a minute here. So up here at the top is where I like to pile the books as I read them throughout the month, just to kind of get them all organized for when I do my monthly wrap-ups. So we're not gonna hang out with these guys too much because I'm about to film my wrap-up video for them, but that's what these guys are. And then coming down to the actual shelves, the way I organize these is sort of a mixture between color, just making them look good, and a little bit of genre. So these 3 shelves are super colorful, obviously, and I kind of blocked similar colors together, and they're also predominantly contemporary young adult books. Also, as you can tell, my Christmas lights up here are broken and not shining, so I really should just take them down. But on these 2 on display, I have The Truth About Alice by Jennifer Matthew and 10,000 Skies Above You by Claudia Gray. These are just 2 of my favorite book covers in these couple of shelves. I just think they're really pretty and eye-catching and a little pop of color. So on top we have The Way You Make Me Feel by Maureen Gu, which I just read this summer and I absolutely loved. If you're looking for a summer contemporary, would totally recommend. We've got First by Lori Elizabeth Flynn, My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. I'm gonna pull this one out actually. The problem with the horizontal stacks is you get more books on a shelf. It helps save space and I think it gives a nice look to it, kind of varies it up a little bit, but it makes it a lot harder to get the books off the shelves. But yeah, I was talking about My Heart and Other Black Holes. I know this book has some controversy around it, but I really enjoyed it. There's definitely a trigger warning for suicide and oppression in here, but I think it's a really well done book. I would recommend it. I have the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series. I only have the first 2 books in the series. I never picked up the 3rd one, and I don't know if I'm gonna read it because I wasn't as in love with those books as everyone else seemed to be. Then we have Not a Drop to Drink by Mindy McGinnis. This is a lesser known Mindy McGinnis books, but it's the first one of hers that I read, and she's become one of my favorite authors. I just love the way she writes. If you haven't read a Mindy McGinnis book yet, do it. Also, this cover is really pretty. There's actually a sequel to this book, but I haven't read it yet. Oh, these are so hard to put back in here. Under that, I have the 3 Anna and the French Kiss books by Stephanie Perkins, which I really liked when I first read them. That was years ago. I think I read them when I was 16 or something, and I feel like if I read them again now, I would change my mind. So I'm caught between wanting to reread them just to see if my opinion had changed and not wanting to read them again because I don't want to ruin my positive opinion of them. And then like I said, I have The Truth About Alice by Jennifer Matthew, which I adore. If you want a good contemporary book that you can read in one sitting, actually the first book I ever reviewed on this channel and I love it. Then we come over to my more pink and white books. So we've Kill the Boy Band by Goldie Movatsky, which is a totally underrated book on BookTube. I don't think I've heard anyone else talk about it, but if you want a funny book that's kind of a parody of a One Direction fan fiction, It's so funny. It's so good. I don't even like One Direction and I still thought it was really funny. This Song Will Save Your Life by Lila Sales is a great coming of age contemporary. And then A Thousand Pieces of You and A Thousand Skies Above You. These are the first two books in the Firebirds trilogy. I own the third book and I haven't read it yet. But I think this series definitely wins with my favorite covers. They're just like so pretty. They're like prettier in person, and you're thinking they look pretty, they're prettier in person. Also, it's just like a really fun multi-dimensional like time traveling series. It's really good. If One of Us Is Lying, McKenna McManus. Didn't like this one. Vanishing Girls by Lauren Oliver. I think this is one of my least favorite Lauren Oliver books. Wouldn't really recommend it, but it does have a very pretty cover. The Merciless by Daniel Vega. Another book I didn't really like. Not going to continue with the series. And then The Ring and the Crown by Melissa de la Cruz is so underrated. If you want a fantasy book that kind of reads like a fluffy contemporary, this series is so fun. I said series because it was supposed to be a series, but then they didn't end up publishing the rest of the books. So I will warn you, you're left with a cliffhanger because it sets up for a second book that you will never get. But it was really good. Now moving on to my greenish blue shelf. I told you the organization system is kind of iffy, as in there's not really one. But on display I have one of my favorite books of all time, which is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, who I was just talking about before. If you're gonna read any book of hers, this one is my favorite, but if you're like planning to read a lot of hers, I would start with Not a Drop to Drink and then move to this one. Next to it I have The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, which is actually the only Becky Albertalli book I've ever read, but I did like it, so I do want to pick up more of her stuff. And Winter Girls by Laurie Halse Anderson. This is like a really brutal book about anorexia. I read it a long time ago, but I remember liking it when I read it. Under Them is Taken by Erin Bauman, which I don't really care about, so we're not going to talk about it. Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella was just okay for me. Same with Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. I read it last summer and it was like a fun summer book, but nothing really special. Same with My Life Next Door. Pretty forgettable, contemporary, unpopular opinion. I didn't really like We Were Liars. I thought it was overhyped. And then And We Stay by Jenny Hubbard is a really underrated book. Most people haven't heard of it. I think I got it from like a used bookstore or something, but I ended up really enjoying it. It's about this girl who's kind of got like PTSD after her boyfriend brings a gun to school, and now she's at this like boarding school to kind of help cope with it, and she's writing poetry. It's not a fun book. It's pretty dark, but it's still really good. Then we move over away from my colorful books, and I have just some like black series is the best way I guess I can explain this square. I'm not going to pull all of these out individually because I think you guys have all seen what the Vampire Academy series looks like, and the covers aren't really anything to show off, so it's fine. I have the original covers and that first one. That's all you need to know. Don't get me wrong, I totally love this series, and if you haven't read Vampire Academy yet and you want a good series to binge read, next to that I have the White Cat trilogy. I think it's called The Curse Workers. I'm pretty sure it says it on the book. The Curse Workers. I really like Holly Black, but this series I don't think is her best work, and if you haven't read anything of hers, I would not start with these books because I think you'll get turned off. Next to that I have Highly Illogical Behavior by John Corey Whaley. I think I have a book review for this one actually. And then Panic by Lauren Oliver, which was also just kind of okay. And then coming down to the second row I have some white books, and then we get into black books, and then black tall books kind of is, I don't know. I have Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. This is actually like a non-fiction book on modern dating and like dating apps and hookup culture and stuff. I had to read it for one of my sociology classes, but since he's a comedian, it was actually like really funny and lighthearted, and I would totally recommend it. Got Afterworlds by Scott Westerfield, which was overly long but still entertaining enough. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. This is my read shelf, so every book on here I have already read. I have an entirely different area for my to-be-read books. I have Parallel by Lauren Miller. This is a book I read way before BookTube, but it was really fun. If you want like an alternate reality, there's like two parallel lives of the same person, but it's like a contemporary about this girl who's like just starting off college, and kind of like the two different paths your life could take depending on like one decision. It was actually really fun. And I have Unfiltered by Lily Collins, which I was pretty disappointed with. These books are like so wedged in, I can't even get them out of here. Daughter of Deep Silence by Carrie Ryan, which I actually just read this summer and I really loved. This Is Where It Ends by Maureen Nijkop. I also read this summer, and this one is a much darker tone. It's about a school shooting, but I also thought this was well done. Then I have the Wake series by Lisa McMahon, which was also just okay, and the Fallen series by Lauren Kate. I know the Fallen series gets a lot of hate, but I read it a long time ago and I actually really enjoyed it when I read it, so no shame. Coming over to my black tall books, it used to be all black, but then the sequel to this one came out and it's not black, but I wanted to keep the series together. Do you see the issue? So we have The Host by Stephanie Meyer, which I actually really loved. The Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo, which is fantastic, as I'm sure you all know because it's very popular on BookTube. The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, which I was super underwhelmed with. Never finished the series, never going to, didn't like it that much. And then The 1,000th Floor and the one that ruins the whole aesthetic of the shelf, the dazzling heights. But it's totally okay because I love this series, so I forgive you for ruining everything. Then we have Caraval and Legendary, and I love this series. I know it's kind of a hit or miss with people, but it's just so magical and fun, and I just love it. And then the last book on this shelf, I almost dropped it, is one of my favorites, Heartless by Marissa Meyer. If you haven't read it, go read it. If you're gonna read any book after watching this video, it should be it. Coming over here, okay, from now on, basically the way these cubes, what you want to call it, are organized by series. So I just kind of clumped a couple of series together and made it look semi-nice. So here I have the Mara Dyer series by Michelle Hodkin, which is one of my favorites. I'm not going to pull out the first book because it's down there, but this is The Unbecoming of Noah Shaw, which is actually the first book in the spin-off series. I wasn't as big of a fan of reading from Noah Shaw's point of view as I was from Mara Dyer, and I also found the third book, The Retribution, to be kind of disappointing. Still one of my favorite series though. Definitely read the first 2 books in this series, proceed with caution with the third book, but if you like that first series, then it's definitely worth continuing on. Was that confusing? It felt confusing. Then we have The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't know why I just said it like that. This is one of my favorite young adult series. I just think it's like nothing else on the market. It's so unique, it's a breath of fresh air, and it's so well written, and I could talk about it all day. Coming over here, we have the Unearthly trilogy by Cynthia Han. If you like paranormal romances, high school, really light, fluffy kind of reads, this is a good one. We have Graceling by Kristen Cashore. I feel like this is just like a staple young adult fantasy. If you like young adult fantasy, you have to have read this book. You just do. And then we have the Twilight books by Stephanie Meyer, which I'm not going to pull out because I think you have all seen what they look like. Now we are down to the third row, and the like series thing continues, except there's like a couple of standalones thrown in there. You can't even see my face. First we have the Shiver trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater, which is not as well loved as her Raven Cycle, but I still enjoyed it. Not as much, but it's still good. And then I have Passenger by Alexandra Bracken on display. Not because I like it that much, like I haven't continued on with the series and I don't think I'm going to. It was just okay for me, but it has a really nice cover, okay? And then we have the Immortal Rules trilogy by Julie Kagawa, which I cannot recommend enough. I was so pleasantly surprised by this series. Like, you wouldn't think it'd be really good from this cover, but man, does it kick ass. And then coming over here, we have the Bloodline series by Rochelle Mead, which is the spin-off to the Vampire Academy series. I feel like spin-off series are hit or miss. They're either totally worth it or totally unnecessary, and Bloodlines is one of those series where it was just as good, if not better, than the original series. You have to read Bloodlines. And then I have the Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead at the bottom, which is also the first book in a series, but I haven't read the rest and I don't think I'm going to. This one I didn't love as much as her other series. We have Even Adam, which was better than I was expecting. Not great, but still better than I was expecting. I'm gonna like squat. This is like such an awkward height. And the His Fair Assassins trilogy by Robin Lefevre, which I talk about on my channel all the time. Assassin Nuns, kick ass, so good, read it. On the next shelf we have the Delirium trilogy by Lauren Oliver, which used to be one of my favorites. I've kind of lost enthusiasm for it, but it was still pretty good. The Skyfall was okay. The Winners trilogy by Marie Rukowski was actually a lot better than I was expecting. I really liked it. And then the Shatter Me trilogy by Tahira Mafi, I love, everyone loves, it's great. Coming over here we have series, and for whatever reason I decided to like pick up the color coding thing again, so it's kind of like a blue shelf. So we have the Under the Never Sky trilogy, which is so underrated. It's so good, you guys, it's so good. And I have the second book on the series on display just because I'm such a fan of this color scheme. It is so visually appealing to me. Beneath those I have the archived duology by Victoria Schwab, which I loved. I know her other series are more popular, but honestly I think the archived is some of her best work. You have to read it. The Pivot Point duology by Casey West, which was okay. Everything on the shelf from here on is okay. We've got Made You Up and The Fault in Our Stars. Okay, coming down here I have Across the Universe, which I'm not going to talk about. The Selection trilogy, which I'm also not going to talk about. The Jacoby series, which I will talk about because I love it. I actually have the third book up for my wrap-up coming this month. Love this series. I love this series. I love this series. I have the Wither series of first 2 books that I honestly just need to unhaul because I hate them to my very core. And then under them I have the Rebel Belle trilogy by Rachel Hawkins. Here's the thing about Rebel Belle. Let's have a little chat. I think I have a review on this entire trilogy actually, so we're just gonna make this short. If you're gonna read Rebel Belle, which you should because the first book is awesome, the rest of the series is so unnecessary and it sucks, so do not bother, but read the first book. Then moving over here, again, this is all Basically from here on out, the organization is just like series and authors lumped together and like a little bit of color coordination. We got Snow Like Ashes, The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza, and Unraveling. All three of these were just okay. Then we have The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, which is one of my favorite series. I know it's a favorite of a lot of people. I just read some of the companion short stories this month and they were fantastic. Then we have Anna Dressed in Blood, which I was kind of disappointed with. Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, which starts with Shadow and Bone. I think the series gets a bad rap. Like, I don't think it was terrible. I still really enjoyed it. It's definitely not the best series I've ever read, but I definitely think it's still worth reading. Then we come over to my Cassandra Clare collection. You may notice here I don't have any of like the companion short story collections or anything with Cassandra Clare, just because I'm someone who doesn't really tend to read that extra content. I just have like the main books in the series. I used to have them, but I recently unhauled them because I knew I wasn't going to read them. So we have The Infernal Devices and Clockwork Princesses on display because it's my favorite Cassandra Clare book. And we have the Mortal Instruments and the Dark Artifices. I do have Laura's Shadows, but I just lent it out to one of my friends. There's actually a couple of blank spots on my shelves as we get further down because my friend was just here the other day and I gave her like a pile of books when she left. But then we have The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, which is on the shelf because it's also tall. I think this is my favorite Holly Black book. I haven't read her new stuff. I know everyone's obsessed with her new series, but of what I've read, this is my favorite. And then I have the first two books in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. I never read the third book. I don't think I'm going to. I didn't love the series as much as everyone else did. I know everyone loves Laini Taylor and I think she's a fantastic writer. I just don't know if she's for me, you know? The problem with bookshelf tours is just like getting the camera at the right angle. Like, I'm sitting on the floor. It's fine. So now we are at the second to last row. Here we have more Blackish books. The Reboot duology by Abington Tarot, which is so underrated. Not enough people have read it. Every time I mention this book in a video, someone goes out and reads the series, which, like, good job guys. And then they always come back and tell me I just read this because of your video and it was awesome. So everyone who goes to read it loves it, so you have to go read it. I have Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. I have read the sequel, but I listened to it on audiobook and I don't own a physical copy yet. And then I have the Hush Hush series, which for some reason is separated and not in order. I don't know why, but I'm not gonna fix it. And oh, these two are good. Let me talk about these two. Another Little Piece by Kate Carries Quinn is a wonderful horror book that you should read because it was really good. And then Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. I just read this year and I absolutely loved. It was so smart, and if you like historical fantasy, zombies, go for it. And then I have the Darkest Minds trilogy, and my friend wanted to read the first book because the movie's coming out, so it's missing. And then we move over to a random red shelf just because I was feeling it, I guess. We have Illuminae, which, yes, I've only read the first book in the series. I know I need to keep reading. I know. Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma is at the bottom. I really enjoyed that book. That's definitely a hit or miss because of the incest in it, but I liked it. Then I have Night Film by Marisha Pessel, which I absolutely love, and I really want to get my hands on her new book. We have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, which is like my favorite book of all time. And then I have Half Bad by Sally Green, which I really didn't like. I don't think it's a bad book. It just, I didn't like the way it made me feel while I was reading it. Like, it was really depressing. And I have Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier, which is so overrated. Don't waste your time. And then, of course, The Hunger Games. Then I have my Sarah J. Maas stuff and then a couple of green books because I don't know, I thought they looked good together. So I have all of the Throne of Glass books, and Empire of Storms is on the bottom because it kind of sucked. And then I have the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I have read the novella that went with this one, Court of Frost and Starlight, but again, I listened to it on audiobook and I really didn't like it, so I don't think I'm ever going to buy the physical copy. Then I have The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, which I also didn't like, and Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver, which I did like. Then we come over here, and this is just, again, like, series, no rhyme or reason, and now that I'm, like, looking at it, I realize it actually doesn't really look that great together. It's fine. We have the Divergent series, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea duology by April Genevieve Tuchok. If you want like a really atmospheric Halloween read, that's kind of what this is. The Hexhall trilogy by Rachel Hawkins was just okay. Nightshade by Andrea Kramer. I actually really liked this book. I read it when I was homesick from school someday in like high school, and I never continued on with the series because someone told me it wasn't good. But I really liked this first book. Unhooked by Lisa Maxwell. I hate this book. 4 by Veronica Roth. I don't know why this isn't with the Divergent trilogy, but it's not. And then I have a copy of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, which is my favorite classic. I don't really know how I'm going to show you these last couple of shelves because they're so low. There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of empty places down here, but these are just kind of the like leftovers, mostly my paperbacks. So we have Humans of New York, which I loved. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. The Passage by Justin Cronin. This one is really good. Nothing on here is really of note. There's Someone Inside of Your House by Stephanie Perkins was severely disappointing, as was the Dorothy Must Die series. I only read the first 2 books and I wouldn't recommend it. Then I just have my Harry Potter books. We'll just take a second to look at them and then we'll move on. And then I have the first 3 books in the Beautiful Creature series I never continued on. Marked by PC and Kristen Cast. That's how I feel about that book. The Angel Fall series, which I was like obsessed with when that came out for a hot second there. And then the Lux series, I only have the first 4 books because I got halfway through the 5th book and then I realized I didn't like the series anymore, so I just stopped reading it and I got rid of it. Honestly, I'm probably gonna unhaul the rest of these books pretty soon here. And then we just come to the remaining paperbacks. I've got some Colleen Hoover, and then we've got some nonfiction. We've got Girl Boss and Big Magic. I really liked Big Magic. And then these are mostly like adult books. So I have Water for Elephants, which was pretty good. American Gods by Neil Gaiman, which was amazing. You by Caroline Kepnes, which was amazing. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, which is I think my favorite of his. The Help, which was really good. And then The Kite Runner, which was also really fantastic. Hey, you can see my face again. Okay, so that is it for these like main shelves. Now I'm gonna take you over. Which one do I want to do next? I guess I will show you the other books that I have already read that are on a different shelf, and then I will take you over to my TBR shelf. This next part is going to be a little bit rough. I'm just going to have to hold the camera, so if it's a little bit shaky, I'm sorry. So like I said, I used to have a different big bookshelf from Walmart that fell apart and I never replaced it, so then I had all of these books that used to be on that big bookshelf. I'm like, what do I do with them now? I cleared out my closet space and I just kind of like lined some of them up there and some DVDs back there as well up here. So I've already read all of these. I'll just give you like a brief scan. I have a couple of my paperbacks like Red Rising and stuff, and then in the middle there is all of my poetry books. Got some classics. This is mostly like adult stuff because for whatever reason I tend to read adult books in paperback instead of hardcover. And then I have some ARCs up there, some duplicate copies of books. And then like mass market paperbacks basically is what's up here. Sorry, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through those books just because it's kind of hard to get to them. But now I'm going to take you over to my TBR shelf. Shelf is like a really generous term for what you're about to see. So here we have my TBR books slash table where I keep my hair and makeup products. So basically I've been trying super hard to get all the books to fit into the crates, but then like obviously I still have a pile up here. Also, I want to throw this in here at the beginning before I go through them. I'm super indecisive and I can never pick what I want to read next. So if you see a book on these TBR shelves that you've read and you loved, it's like your favorite book, please tell me to prioritize that book because that would make my life so much easier. And there's really no organization for these TBR books, so just kind of shove them in here as I get them. So I have The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss, which I really need to get to because my boyfriend gave this to me for Christmas. It's his favorite series and I gave a 5 out of 5 stars to the first book in the series. So I need to get my shit together and read this sequel, especially because the audiobook for this is on Scribd, so I could totally listen to this. Even though the audiobook is like 40 hours because it's so long. This book is over 1,000 pages. It's so intimidating. Sorry, I just spent a lot of time on that book. And I have The Opposite of Loneliness, which is like a collection of essays from this girl who died when she was in college, so that's really sad, but I've heard it's really good. The Good Thief by Marie Howe, which is a collection of poetry that I picked up from a used bookstore, which I have started. I just like never finished, but it was really good so far. Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. Hidden Bodies by Caroline Kepnes. Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. The Last Star Burning by Caitlin Sangster. Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, and I think this is just like an anthology of different thriller and horror short stories, so I think I'm gonna read this in October. Then I have The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is actually going to be on my TBR for August, so I am going to read this one soon. Paranormalcy by Kristen White. I want to buddy read this with one of my friends, Keely, so I also think I'm going to read this next month. The Bird and the Blade by Megan Bannon. I have absolutely no idea what this is about. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I know I said like recommend a book to me, but don't recommend this one to me because I've tried to read it 3 times and I haven't been able to get through it, and I think I'm losing hope on it. And then Scrappy Little Nobody by Anna Kendrick. It's the last one in this cube crate. I don't know, whatever. I have so many copies of my own book lying around. If you didn't know, this is my book, The Sweetest Kind of Poison. It's coming out August 12th. These last couple of books you may have already seen if you saw my last reading vlog because I just hauled them. Helium by Rudy Francisco. This is a collection of poetry. Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I know, this one's really high on my TBR. I definitely want to get to this soon. I've heard amazing things about it. An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. Ditto with that last one. This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, also ditto. I just bought all of these because I was excited about them. Like, obviously these ones are high on the TBR. I have Bonfire by Kristen Ritter. I'm actually like halfway through this one already. Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. And These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This book was actually on my TBR for this month. And it's the 26th of July when I'm filming this, so we'll see if I actually end up reading it this month. Now let's move along to this cube. So first we have I Will Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. Before She Ignites by Jodi Meadows. I actually think I have 2 copies of this book because it's funny. I'm showing you like all of these books that I have here. These aren't even all of my books. I have a ton of books in my storage unit back at college. I think I have 2 copies of this book is what I'm saying, because I think it was in 2 of the book subscription services that I got that month. Then up here we have Fairest by Marissa Meyer, Hopeless by Colleen Hoover, and Just One Day by Gail Forman. Then we have Three Sides of a Broken Heart, stories about love triangles. Before I Let Go by Marie Knizhkop. I want to read this because I really liked her other book that I read. Haven by Mary Lindsay, As You Wish by Chelsea Sidoti, There Are Mighty Things by Heather Kavinsky, Song of the Current by Sarah Tossler, oops, Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I also tried to read this. I got 100 pages in and I didn't like it. What You Left Me, this is actually an arc of Bridget Morissi. Oh, this came out in June. Didn't read that in time. The Incredible Secrets of Tally Hill and Who's That Girl by Blair Thornborough. There actually was a bit of organization to this cube at first. It's kind of just turned into the rest of them because I keep shoving things in here. But originally all of the books in here were books that were sent to me by publishers or book subscription services and stuff. I kind of like to clump them together because when someone sends me a book, I feel more obligation to read it than if I buy it myself. I don't know why, just because someone was like nice enough to send me a free copy. So I kind of like leave these in here to like remind myself like, Katie, you need to read these. You know what, maybe I won't show you the cubes. Maybe I'll just sit here and I'll pull them out. So I have the first Morganville vampire books. I actually think there's 2 books in here. It's volume 1 by Rachel Kane, Lament by Maggie Stiefvater, Here We Are Now by Jasmine Warga, Easy by Tamara Weber, The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson, Fire by Kristen Kishore. This is turning into the normal bookshelf tour where I just like list off names. It's just because 1, I haven't read these, so I don't really know much about a lot of them, and 2, I've also had a lot of these on my TBR shelf for years and I just like have lost enthusiasm for them. Replica by Lauren Oliver, Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. I just read Save the Date by Morgan Matson and I really didn't like it, and everyone was telling me that this one was like her best one or their favorite one, so I should read this one next. I don't know, I just like didn't like her writing style or her way of telling things. I just thought she like overwrote things, like it was too long, so we'll see if I ever read that. Vixen by Gillian Larkin, Trial by Fire by Josephine Angelini, Control by Lydia Kane, Death Sworn by Leah Cypress, Schizo by Nick Sheff, Of Beast and Beauty by Stacey J, Alive by Scott Singler, and More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. I didn't even realize I owned this one. Okay, now we're down to the last cube. Without Merit by Colleen Hoover, Ghosts of Heaven by Marcus Sedgwick. I'm totally guilty of only buying this because I liked the cover. A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Gray. This is the last book in the Firebirds trilogy and I need to read it, and I'm obsessed with this cover. Seraphina by Rachel Hartman, The Program by Susan Young, The Dire King by William Ritter. This is the 4th book in the Jacoby series and I'm definitely going to be picking this up soon. What's Left of Me by Kat Zhang, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delaria, When We Collided by Emery Lord, All Our Yesterdays by Kristen Terrell. I was so excited for this book when I bought it and then I just didn't read it. Blood by Cecilia Ahern. My boyfriend also bought me this, so now I feel guilty that I haven't read this one either. Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rose. I've been meaning to start this series for 800 years and I still just haven't done it. Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. Another Holly Black book that I really need to read. And then the last one is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Okay, so those are all of the books in my TBR shelves. I know I said I have books in like 4 different places, and that's because I have a very large box full of books sitting in my laundry room, but those are all books that I am getting rid of. I've unhauled them already, so I'm not going to show them to you in this video. If you would like to see those books, just go check out my latest unhaul video. I show them all to you guys. Also, if you didn't know, I sell the books that I unhaul on my Depop shop. I'll have that link down below in the description if you're interested in getting any of those books. I sell them for super cheap. basically you just have to pay shipping for them. But yeah, those are all the books that I have here. Like I said, I still have a bunch left in my storage unit when I go back to school, which I'm going back to school in about a month, so I might just like do a video showing you guys the books that I have there. It's not very many, it's just like a pile or two. But yeah, I'm gonna end this video at this very weird angle in this very weird location. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this bookshelf tour. Like I said, feel free to recommend a book that you saw on my TBR shelf that you really liked, because I would love to hear which ones I should prioritize. That would help me a lot. And let me know down in the comment how you guys organize your bookshelves, because as you clearly saw today, I don't really have an organization system with mine anymore, which isn't to say that I haven't in the past. Like if you've seen my other bookshelf tours, I used to have them organized by author's last name. They used to be alphabetical. I did a rainbow shelf once. I used to have them by genre and stuff. So I just kind of said screw it and stopped organizing them anyway. I like them the most this way without the organization. It's a little bit harder to find some books sometimes, but I prefer it this way. A little bit of chaos in my life is okay. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this. If you have made it this far in the video, I have a feeling this turned into a long one. If you want, you can pre-order my book. I have that link down below in the description, as well as all of my social media if you want to come be friends on Instagram or Twitter or Goodreads or any of that good stuff. If you're new here, I would love it if you would subscribe and stick around. I make new videos all the time. And if you like this video, I would appreciate you so much if you would give it a thumbs up. It helps out my channel so much. And I will just see you guys in my next video very soon. Bye.
Lose my voice when I look at you. Can't make a noise, I'm trying to tell you all the right words, waiting on the right words. Just another lovesick afternoon, black butterflies and deja vu, hoping for the right words, waiting for the right words.